But today, before I continue rambling on, we have somebody really special who's joined us. So I'm just going to quickly introduce her. She doesn't need any introduction, of course, because all the most expensive garments in the country are made by her.
Not true.
But she, I think, is one of the most fabulous designers. I think by far the best designer in the country by a yardstick when it comes to sustainable fashion, and somebody whose clothing is worn not just by Ivanka Trump. She has promised me someday that she will make a collection specially for I.I.M.U.N. No, I'm just joking. No, this is the peer pressure that I put on the guest that comes in saying, I say such obnoxious things. So at the end of it, the guest is like, was he serious? Was he not so serious? So but she's a wonderful lady. She's been very kind. She's associated with the organization in the capacity of a goodwill ambassador. And quite honestly, if there is one person who I think is a great role model to young people when it comes to the field of fashion, and just generally because the way she conducts herself, it is none other than Anita Dongre. So welcome to I.I.M.U.N official, and welcome to I.I.M.U.N's. This is sounding like a show, so I'm going to remove that part of it. So welcome to I.I.M.U.N's digital conference, and I'm thrilled and delighted to be able to host you here.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here, but I have a very big complaint against you.
And which is?
Why did you invite me for the dance event that was happening just 1 hour before? I logged in as usual 15 minutes early because I'm a stickler for time. And I saw Viral, or how do you pronounce his name? It's Viral showing all these amazing dance moves. And I said, I should have joined it if I'd been prepared. I think that is very good that dance is being taught. I love dance. And I thoroughly enjoyed the video. I think it's fabulous. And even if your team gets around to changing it, stick to the same music because the music is very catchy. It wanted me to get up and dance and cheer. It's a lovely video.
How nice. You should have. We would have got it on video and that would have gone viral. But the reason why we didn't invite you for the dance is because you were busy, because the Prime Minister, I think in his program for and I got an email from the Ministry of Ayush yesterday, which said that there's an important program that is happening between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. And there are people like you, Rishabh, who should be a part of it and pay attention, because you rarely pay attention, only talk, and you don't ever listen. So I'm glad that after that invitation, you've chosen to accept our invitation. I'm quite humbled and honored that you've spared time and you were talking to young people.
No, it's completely my pleasure.
And let me get straight to it. The environment, and I'm dressed as impeccably as I've ever been. I'm wearing my same T-shirt, which I've been wearing since the last 26 years.
You're my sustainable hero.
So let me not talk about fashion, because I think it'd be very inappropriate for somebody like me who just manages to get his beard right, that also just about, to talk about fashion. So let me ask you this question, however, about the environment. I know you've championed the cause of combating climate change since time immemorial. Quite honestly, the first time I've been introduced to you, since then, the only thing that I keep hearing about and keep seeing firsthand also is how you've championed the cause of combating climate change. I think somebody saying you're looking exuberant. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I have to interrupt my own monologue, which is very odd. But coming back to the point, which is that you've championed combating climate change since the longest time. And I wanted to ask you this question, that as young people, as young leaders who are a part of this movement, how important is it to be sensitized at an early age, and what can we do to contribute to combating climate change according to you?
Rishabh, it's honestly now the youth, it's just totally up to you guys and your generation to turn it around and make it happen. Because I think my generation and a generation older than me, I think just worked and strived so hard for material success that somewhere down the line, the environment was neglected. We come from a generation, I think this generation and maybe my father's generation, all of them really, really only struggled to make life, I would say, materially better for themselves. So I think the way businesses ran in all over the world, and I think the entire world is to blame, is is our whole focus was on success, which is the capitalist model where companies are judged by how much money they make and how much money they make for their shareholders. But nobody really paused and thought about what our crazy growth is doing to the environment. And I think why we all really need to do something quickly is because I honestly want to leave back a planet, a better planet for my kids and for my grandkids. And that's, you young people. And I think you guys are the ones who will really be the game changers, who can make your parents, make the community at large understand how important it is just to live mindfully, to live sustainably. And I'm not talking about like doing big stuff. It's just small stuff like, having a composting pit in your house, becoming mindful about all the waste you create, buying less plastic, not buying a lot of fast food where a lot of food comes in packets which are just throwing in the bin. I think this lockdown has really also made me realize, because you're doing everything in the house and you're watching how large that garbage can is getting every day. Living more simply, cooking at home, just going back actually to way our grandparents lived. I think all of us, this generation, just needs to go back into how the two generations above us lived and come back to that kind of simple, mindful living. And I think we should be able to control what's happening in the world to a large extent. But so much is dependent on you guys, and you'll have to just make small changes in your life. They might look tough, but important changes. I love nature. You can see what's behind me. You can see my little bandar there.
So what you said, the small changes are most important, and I think what you've done in the field of fashion is something that is inspirational.
What I've done is just a tiny drop, and all of us have to do a lot more. I mean, we all just have to get more mindful. It's as simple as that, and I think each one of us has to make that effort.
If you don't mind sharing a few of your stories of how you because with grassroots, what you've done with even with most of your brands, it's so environmentally conscious. So is it that you do something different? Because I know that fashion can be a great contributor to climate change, and you have somehow managed to work it around, and you have managed to combat climate change and yet produce garments which are which, like I said, people from Ivanka Trump all the way to the Ambani family wear. So the idea is that how did you go about the entire process? Can you tell us a little more about?
For me, sustainability is important in my personal lifestyle. It's important to me in my work. So our design headquarters in Navi Mumbai is a completely sustainable design headquarters. We recycle our water. My home here has solar panels and a composting pit. We have composting in the head office too. So these are sustainable measures that we take. We serve only vegetarian food because I think it's very, very important for sustainability also to eat as much as plant-based food as possible. Grassroots for me is beyond sustainability. For me, grassroots is, I think, what I would say is social sustainability, because I definitely feel that, 70% of India lives in its villages. And I firmly believe that you need to take employment back to the villages. So what we do with grassroots is we take a craft or we take a cluster of artisans that specifically work in villages of India. It started with my meeting Ila Ben of Seva, and she has, I think, millions of women under her in Gujarat. And the women were looking for a designer like me to come and use design intervention to be able to give them sustained employment. From there, a chance meeting with Poonam Mahajan, we started opening village clusters in Maharashtra, where we train women in villages of Maharashtra. And these are really, really backward villages where we train them in the art of stitching. So for me, rural employment is important. For me, economic empowerment for women is very important. Because again, I think these are the two areas that will really change India in the next few decades is economic employment for women and taking employment back to the villages of India and preserving our craft. And craft can be such a huge source of employment for our people. Handcrafted textiles, handcrafted embroideries are cherished not only in India and all of the world. And I think it's the duty of every designer to make sure that some part of a work is work that's done in rural India by craftsmen. So it's a combination of all that we do.
How nice. And that's very thoughtful. And the entire process about how you went about it, and you put it very humbly, saying, we went from A to B to C, and now I don't know, it's thousands of stores across, and lakhs of people who are employed or who work with you. And
Yes.
let me also.
I consider myself an employment generator first, and then a designer second. I think, also when we work in grassroots, how we work differently from the fashion cycle is if suddenly we get a cluster in a village where we'll get a message suddenly on WhatsApp and say, is cluster ko abhi kaam nahi hai, inka kaam ho gaya. So we'll immediately go back to the drawing board. And it's not only about whether my buyers want to buy something that season or not. I'll sit with my team of designers and we'll quickly design something that cluster can embroider or that cluster can weave. So it in grassroots we actually create employment when the artisans need it versus the other brands where they follow a fashion cycle.
Also, another question that I always had is about women about women just generally being pioneers in certain industries, and as somebody who's actually made a name for herself and a name for India internationally. And that's why I keep telling young people that there is so much to learn from every person. And but my question to you is this: that as a woman entrepreneur in India, did you face any specific challenge that you overcame, which you'd like to elucidate? Success or a failure, which you think is inspiring?
Rishabh, I started more than 30 years ago. I started when, and sometimes maybe I say fortunately, unfortunately, I started in a profession which is fashion design. And I started in a very humble, small way. I started with 2 sewing machines in my bedroom balcony. So in the first few years, no one really took it seriously because I just thought I'm using fashion design just to express my creativity, I'm just a woman who's expressing her creativity through clothes. I was never really taken seriously. It was I always wanted to start it as a huge business and run it as a design house and employ hundreds and thousands of people, what we do today. But I had that vision when I was very young, but I was never taken seriously. And that really didn't bother me because I knew what I wanted to do and I went about doing it. Today, I definitely, sometimes, I run a company where we directly employ 2,600 people and I indirectly employ thousands and thousands of people. I do see sometimes, even today, which is really quite sad, that sometimes certain men do not take women seriously and do not like taking orders from women. I face that at work sometimes. And I just think you have to change the mindset of male minds who have been born and brought up by parents to think that it's only a man who they can take orders from. Sometimes I see those mind blocks with people in the company. I think you have to just to work on them and make them realize that today women can be in important positions and women have as much and are as equal to men. But you definitely come across that where women are not taken seriously. It was the same 30 years ago. To a certain extent, it's changed now. But it's still there. It's still there in a few. It's just maybe the upbringing. So I think it's just so important we bring up the next generation to realize that men and women are all equal. So a lot goes with the upbringing at home also, or with your education system in schools and colleges everywhere.
You said sometimes people don't take instructions from you as seriously because they find it difficult men find it difficult to take instructions from women.
Sometimes they do, yes.
In my case, both men and women find it very difficult to take instructions from me. So, but I attempt, and I tell Rishi saying, please change my introduction the next time, but you see, he'll give me the same introduction. But they're wonderful set of people who are a part of your setup as well. Let me ask you the last question before I throw it open to the students per se, because they have tons of questions for you. Is if somebody wanted to and aspires to be the next Anita Dongre, because there are so many young women across the country and we're recording this as well, and when we play it again, with your permission, of course, is that what is it that they need to have? The 3 qualities that you think a young woman, a young girl across the country needs to have to become the next Anita Dongre.
Okay, so I think the problem with a lot of us, and I don't know whether it's with men, but I certainly think it's with women. Women undermine themselves. I think women are hugely intelligent, highly capable, but somewhere along the line, some of us have a mental block that I'm not good enough. So I think you need to wake up every morning and first tell yourself, I am good enough and I can do this. So a firm conviction that you are good enough and you can achieve what you want to do. Second is don't give up. Life throws a lot of challenges at you. And even me, there are certain nights I've gone to sleep saying, this is it. I can't take it anymore. I'm going to give up. But I've always woken up in the morning and said, no ways am I giving up. I'm going to go for it. This is my dream. This is my vision. And I'm going to get it happen. And I'm not going to let small problems bog me down. So I think perseverance and follow your passion. Whatever you're going to do, just make sure you're passionate about it, because today, if you need to excel in anything, I think you need to live, breathe, think, and be that. So very, very important that you find your passion.
So it's important.
Yeah, I think these were the three: to believe in yourself, to never give up, and make sure you pursue your passion as your profession. Because you must live life and you must enjoy life, and success should not come at the cost of you not liking what you do. So it's so important to like what you do, to love what you do. I mean, I don't even say like, you should love it. You should want that more than anything else in life, to do what you do.
So basically you should find something that you are really passionate about and then pursue it with all, and then give it 150%, everything that you've got.
And believe in yourself that you can do it.
And believe in yourself. So basically you look into the mirror and you tell yourself you've got it. This is what I do every day, but then the people turn out to be like,
and look where it's got you. Look at you.
So no, I'm bordering on narcissism out here. But before I continue any further and ask really senseless questions, let me open it up to more pragmatic young minds who would be able to ask more intelligent questions, so that Anita Dongre feels that this is a smart organization. Because she thinks, I'm guessing she thinks this is a smart organization and she's talking to me for far too long. So the first question that I want to ask is, this wonderful girl called Dhruvi has, so can we switch the spotlight? Fantastic. Hi.
Hello, ma'am. It is really an honor to ask you a question. So my question to you is, what are the three things a brand should keep in mind while promoting their sustainability practice?
Okay, so first of all, I should say honesty. Never proclaim something you're not. So just be honest. If you're on the way towards sustainability, just be honest and say, well, these are the steps we've covered and these are the steps we're hoping to cover, because sustainability, I've always said, is a journey. You can't just, do things overnight. Great communication skills are very important. And I think educating your customer. Because again, there are so many myths about sustainability. So whatever you're doing in sustainability, it would be education, communication, and honesty.
Great, fantastic. I hope that answered your question, Dhruvi, and thank you for that question. See, you guys are asking all the sensible ones. So all very complicated, sensible questions in with words which are difficult to pronounce are great, as long as you can pronounce them. We have the next question from somebody who's representing the Indian National Congress, which is a tough job these days. Her name is Simran. Simran, can you introduce yourself? And then we'll take your question. Simran.
Hi, Simran. Where are you?
Simran is yet in a Yashraj movie. No, but okay, let's take another question. There is Kushal Jain, who says, who's representing Argentina in the World Trade Organization. And his question is, Kushal, hi. So we have Kushal.
Hi, Kushal.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Really glad to have you here.
Likewise.
I admire your work a lot. I just wanted to ask you how the fashion industry is going to change in the future, like how it's going to shape our lives, like how is it going to change? Like,
so can I speak about the Indian fashion industry? And when you say how's it going to change in the future, is it due to COVID-19, the effects of COVID-19?
A lot, ma'am, because like people have stopped going to the stores and online marketing has, so
I think, of course, a lot of focus is now going to move towards online. But in the space of luxury clothing, which is like one of my brands, the bridal wear brand is in the luxury space. I think people still want to come to the stores and experience it. A lot of people are deferring their decision to buy right now till the situation improves. But I think this whole situation has been a wake-up call for the fashion industry all over the world. Fashion is one of the largest polluting industries, and I think it's made everybody in the industry, especially in the West, and I would say not so much in India. In India, it's more the Make in India movement that all fashion designers are today saying that we want to promote the Make in India, Sell in India movement. Globally in the West, I think a lot of fashion houses are realizing that the indiscriminate use of fur, leather, animal scales. A lot of companies have now decided not to use animal skin, not to use any practices that harm the environment, that harm animals. And a lot of fashion houses are today setting up, like we have a chief sustainability officer since almost a year and a half in the company. A lot of companies are doing that. So I think a lot of good will come out of this, where companies are questioning why they do what they do and how they do it. So a lot of good, I think, will come after this, whole shutdown of 3 months. It's given a lot of people time to think and introspect.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that answered your question. It's actually given us a lot of time to think and introspect. In some cases, also pick up household skills. Like
yes.
Now I take my plate and I.
What skill did you pick up, Rishabh?
I now regularly take my plate from the dining table. I put it in the sink and I wash it.
Good, very good. Very impressed.
I've been trying my hand at multitude of things, but the only thing is that whenever I go into the kitchen and try to cook something, so I'm trying to cook A and then B happens. So it's like I'm making sushi and then suddenly we are having vada pav at home. So the idea is that. So I refrain from experimenting, but I've tried my hand. But now we've got another question from this lovely boy called Parth Nayak. He's representing the Russian Federation. So delegate, what would Vladimir Putin like to ask?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, it's pretty good to have you here. My question is, how are the latest trends of the Western world changing the views and affecting the modern generation of this world?
You mean to say in fashion?
In general, all trends, social media, everything.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I feel very strongly about, that in India, especially with the urban youth, and I won't say the rural youth, I do not know why we look for validation from the West for whatever we do and what is considered cool and new and hip to follow. If let's say America says this is the cool thing to do, this is the cool food to eat, this is the cool way to dress, urban Indian youth follow. I think it's very important that we look within our own culture, and we are not impacted with the West the way we have always been in the last couple of decades. Anything coming from the West is considered cool. I think it's time for India today to lead the way and show that the way we lived and the way our grandparents lived, we lived a far more sustainable life, and we have come from a land of culture, of yoga, of Ayurveda. I think now is the time to take pride in our own culture and not to emulate and imitate and blindly follow the West unless it doesn't merit some logic. Do you agree with me, Rishabh, on this? That we are very, very kind of smitten by what is cool in the West?
Oh, I completely agree. I could not agree any more that we are not just smitten, but we follow it blindly. It's like the Bible, and we forget that we also have the Gita. But I won't get into a religious discourse because then it will become controversial. And these days, anything can become controversial. So I will steer away from controversy, but I will simply say that, like you rightly said, that it is imperative that what is Indian, and we've got such a rich legacy, and we've got such great culture, that if we only rediscover India, then I think we'll get answers to so many of the questions that we've been asking.
Which also means that we do not blindly follow any cultural practices in India that do not make sense. I mean, I think we all have to start using our intellect and, the youth of today is highly intelligent, to just start using your intelligence to decide what is good for you and what is not, and just blindly follow just because it's been happening for so many years.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And let me, with your permission, take the last question from the audience, if that's all right.
Yes.
Okay, super. So can we have Kenya from UNW be recognized? Could you recognize?
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you? Are you in Kenya?
No.
No.
So I wanted to ask you the direction in which fashion is heading towards the future. Do you think it will be influenced by the past? Like people are bringing in the trends from 80s and 90s, you know, that so will it be influenced?
Everything we do in fashion is influenced by the past. I mean, everything we do, we just reinterpret what the past has already done. And especially in India, we have such a rich legacy of design in the past. I think all of us today only delve into the past and reinterpret it and contemporarize it. None of us do really anything, I would say, that's not inspired from the past, because we have such a rich legacy of textile, of Mughal motifs, of design, of pattern, of architecture, flora, fauna. Everything that we have is from the past, and what we do is just keep reinterpreting it again and again and again in our own signature way.
That's a wonderful.
Makes sense?
Yeah, it does.
That's a wonderful answer. And like you rightly said, I think we are so inspired because there are so many things in our culture that we can take and draw inspiration from. I think
absolutely. I mean, every time I reach a total mind block and I don't know what to do, I just travel into some part of India and inspiration just hits at me from every corner. So you walk into a museum, you open a book, you just walk into a bazaar. I mean, it's so inspirational.
And for us, we didn't have to walk into any part of India, because inspiration hit us at 3:35 p.m. today. So I'm glad that you mentioned what you did, because at the end of the day, if you do not know where you've come from, I don't think you'll know where you're going. And therefore, I think the study of Indian history and India's culture is so important to unite nations, because most of the answers across the world are buried somewhere in some part of India, and inspiration hits us there. But inspiration, quite honestly, you are somebody who is very, very inspiring, and I know you have a really packed schedule, and you are a stickler for time. And therefore, I will not prolong this session, but on behalf of everyone who has been watching and everyone who will be watching this video, a lot of gratitude. And I must thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking out time and doing this to inspire young people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rishabh. You're doing an amazing job, and all the best to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. And don't forget your promise. You're making that fashion line specifically, which is designed for I.I.M.U.N. Please hold true to that.
Done.
We have it on camera, guys. We have it on camera.
Bye.